Also he says ومثله المفرد إذ يضاف فافهم هديت الرشد ما يضاف. ومثله and the like of that, like كذاك ومثله and another. So this is the fourth one here that gives the same ruling, عموم, general meaning. المفرد إذ يضاف. المفرد is the singular. إذ يضاف is when it's attributed مضاف. مضاف and مضاف إليه. If it's مفرد and it's added to it something, also gives the general meaning of things. Like for example, وإن تعدوا نعمة الله لا تحصوها. وإن تعدوا, if you count the نعمة, this is مفرد. نعمة الله مفرد مضاف to لفظ الجلالة Allah. That means it's all the favors of Allah, not a specific favor of Allah. all تفيد العموم. ومثله المفرد إذ يضاف. Something else as a rule of fiqh, and this is many in the hadith and extracting rulings of fiqh and things like this. يوصيكم الله في أولادكم للذكر مثل حظ الأنثيين. In the inheritance, يوصيكم الله, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands you في أولادكم with regards to your أولاد, your offsprings. أولاد is plural, right? But it's مضاف, even though it says مفرد ومثل المفرد إذ يضاف. But أولادكم and الكاف here مضاف, that means all of your children, not just one particular ones. للذكر مثل حظ الأنثيين. But again ومثله المفرد إذ يضاف فافهم هديت الرشد ما يضاف. Understand, comprehend, may Allah guide you. هديت الرشد, passive tense. That may you be guided to الرشد. الرشد is uprightness, intelligence, to know what is right. ما يضاف, what proceeds or what comes as a result of this, which is one of the expressions of generality that many rulings comes, so that it's not specific to one thing or the other. So this is many times it's mentioned in the books of tafsir, in the rulings of the ahkam. This is something that تفيد العموم. So it's alif lam that gives the meaning of al-kull, النكرة in سياق النفي, النكرة في سياق النهي, and man and ma and al-mufrad إذ يضاف. And hopefully we understand every word of the lines here. They're practicing it inshallah ta'ala. When the more a person learns the lugha, and that also makes us appreciate the language of the Quran, to learn it so that we can relate things. Because it does not, اللغة العربية also, we don't take rulings استقلالا, it's تبع. We don't just use the language to extract rulings. A person will say, I'm good in language, so let me just make my own rulings. No. There are Quran, Sunnah, the Prophet ﷺ, understanding of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum. So this is, but it shows the importance of it. And then after that, ولا يتم الحكم حتى تجتمع كل الشروط والموانع ترتفع. Now this is the subject of that استيفاء الشروط وانتفاء الموانع. It's a huge subject that can save the person clearly from deviation, whether it's in subject of aqidah or matters of fiqh. ولا يتم الحكم. The hukm is the ruling upon something. لا يتم is never to be passed or never to be fulfilled. حتى تجتمع, the ruling of something cannot be fulfilled, or al-ijtima' is when something is all together. So the ruling requires two things, and that's what the bringing of these two things together. كل الشروط, all the conditions has to be there. والموانع, and all of the things that are preventions are lifted. ترتفع. What does that mean? Anything. الصلاة. For someone salah to be valid, he has to fulfill the conditions of it. كل الشروط. He has to make wudu, face the qibla, satr al-awra, covering the awra. These are conditions. And there are certain mawani' has to be prevented. He has to stay away from what prevents him of making the salah. Even though it's from the conditions, but for example, he's not having clothes on. Or one of the mawani' can be is that his food is put on the table and it's salatul jama'ah. This is mana' from salatul jama'ah. He has an excuse. So the shurut and the mawana' or very obvious, this is not a very clear example, with the salah al-hayd, woman in her menses, right? Or a man that in state of janaba. This is mana' min as-salah. She cannot make salah. So if she takes all of the conditions, it's not going to make her able to make the salah, because there's a mana', there's something that prevents her from making the salah. So all the shurut has to be there, and that's not it. Also all of the mawani', all the things that prevents the person from the action has to be tartafi', has to be lifted. One of the very common thing that is this condition or this principle is used in the subject of a takfir, making or calling a person a kafir, which is a very dangerous thing for a person to do. The ulama always, they say that has to be istifa' al-shurut wa intifa' al-mawani'. Someone said a word of kufr. Right? Do we know that he is insane or not? There is mawani' to make the ruling. First of all, those who would make the ruling are the ulama, not the individuals. As far as the individuals are concerned, they did an act of kufr. So the mawani' has to be removed and the shurut has to be fulfilled. This is really an act of kufr. He made mockery of what's well known in matters of the religion. He made sujood to other than Allah. Something that is kufr, right? Cursed the Quran, things like this. So the matter is definitely an act of kufr. But then intifa' al-mawani', he's someone that was insane and he said it when he was insane. This is a mana' to give the ruling. He was mukrah, someone with a sword on his neck, and that's why he said this. Or someone that is ignorant. He did not know that zina is haram. Someone just embraced Islam today and nobody told him that drinking wine is haram. So someone right on the spot says, what do you think of drinking wine? He says, this is permissible, this is perfect. For a Muslim, knowing that by necessity, this is an act of disbelief because he's denying what's in the Quran. If he knows the ruling, not that if he drinks, he becomes a kafir. No, if he drinks, he's committing a sin. But he's not a kafir, he's not a disbeliever. Unless he would say that it's halal, 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 it's permissible, denying the Quran. So denying one verse in the Quran, that makes it an act of disbelief. But there is mawani'. Maybe he's ignorant. And many of the things that the ulama, what I mentioned with regards to the takfir is because of the jahl. And there are different details to it. So, كل الشروط والموانع. Woman wants to get married, but she is in her waiting period. That's mana'. She cannot get married till her waiting period and things like this. So, ولا يتم الحكم حتى تجتمع. So the hukm is the ruling, and the judges they use these types of things till كل الشروط is there والموانع ترتفع, and the موانع is lifted. Inshallah, hopefully we'll finish, inshallah, before Maghrib. We'll see, inshallah. Everybody's okay? Do we need to take a break or no? Should we? You're okay? طيب. If you need to take a break, if one says we'll take a break, we'll take a break. No one? No one wants to be the one that... no. طيب. We'll try to see if we can, as much as we can, inshallah. The next one, 937, وَمَنْ أَتَى بِمَا عَلَيْهِ مِنْ عَمَلٍ قَدْ اسْتَحَقَّ مَالَهُ عَلَى الْعَمَلِ. This is a ruling related to contracts and things like this. وَمَنْ أَتَى بِمَا عَلَيْهِ, man, from صيغ العموم, right? From the generality, man, whoever. So this is everybody that this applies to him. مَنْ أَتَى, whoever fulfills, comes بِمَا عَلَيْهِ, with what upon him, what required for him, بِمَا عَلَيْهِ مِنْ عَمَلٍ, from an action. عَلَيْهِ, that means it's an obligation upon him. You hired someone to build the wall for you. So you hired them, everything is agreed, you're going to give him that much money, everything is... So وَمَنْ أَتَى بِمَا عَلَيْهِ مِنْ, so he built the wall. He did his job. This is the first part. وَمَنْ أَتَى بِمَا عَلَيْهِ مِنْ عَمَلٍ, whoever did something that is required upon him min amal, from action, قَدْ اسْتَحَقَّ مَالَهُ عَلَى الْعَمَلِ. Now, once he finishes, he is deserving what is due from the action. If he finished it, then all of the money that you agreed upon becomes mandatory that you have to give it to him. And delaying it actually is against what the Prophet ﷺ, he said, before his sweat even dries, as some of the meanings of some of the hadith. That means it has to be immediate. You give him what he deserves. قَدْ اسْتَحَقَّ مَالَهُ. Can you give him something in the beginning and something deferred? That's fine. But here's about al-istihqaq. When it becomes deserving, it's the right upon you that you have to give it, is once his actions is done. And this is the same thing with ibadat. When someone finishes the month of Ramadan, the reward is given at the end of Ramadan. Because لِتُكْمِلُوا الْعِدَّةِ, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, to complete the counted days of Ramadan. If a person fasting in Ramadan, and even though al-ba'd is mentioned here, which is the next line, he cannot break or fast half of the day, portion of the day. He gets reward for just half of the day fasting, even if he was so thirsty and so on. It doesn't count if he breaks it. So وَمَنْ أَتَى بِمَا عَلَيْهِ مِنْ عَمَلٍ قَدْ اسْتَحَقَّ مَا لَهُ عَلَى الْعَمَلِ. So this is the subject of al-istihqaq. Istihqaq al-jaza, the reward or the price or whatever becomes mandatory مقابل العمل. The issue of being hired or rented or whatever there is has of course many implications to it in the deen of Islam. And if someone is hired based on time, maybe this also will be mentioned, that means his time does not belong to him. He works from 8 to 5. So, but this is al-majghul, لا يشغل. We'll talk about that later, inshallah. So, وَمَنْ أَتَى بِمَا عَلَيْهِ مِنْ عَمَلٍ قَدْ اسْتَحَقَّ مَا لَهُ عَلَى الْعَمَلِ. That means once he finishes his job. This is clear? Then he says, وَيُفْعَلُ الْبَعْضُ مِنَ الْمَأْمُورِ إِنْ شَقَّ فِعْلُ سَائِرِ الْمَأْمُورِ. وَيُفْعَلُ in the passive tense. الْبَعْضُ. الْبَعْضُ is some. Part. So a part of an obligation, وَيُفْعَلُ is to be done. وَيُفْعَلُ الْبَعْضُ مِنَ الْمَأْمُورِ from what is being commanded as an obligation. If it's, this is some of it only. إِنْ شَقَّ فِعْلُ سَائِرِ الْمَأْمُورِ. If there is difficulty, shaqqa, there's so much difficulty in fi'l, in doing the rest or the entire obligation. What does that mean? If we're supposed to pray standing, ruku' and sujood. So some or parts of the salah a person is not able to do. He's not able to stand. Then وَيُفْعَلُ الْبَعْضُ مِنَ الْمَأْمُورِ. But he's able to make ruku' and make sujood. Then he sits, and in ruku' and sujood he make them perfectly, because the problem is in standing. And this is an issue. Sometimes people think that if he's not able to make sujood, for example in the salah, he sits from the beginning of the salah. That's not permissible. He's only not able to make sujood. He made a surgery in his eyes, he's not able to make sujood, but he's able to stand. And he has to start the salah standing. He's able to make ruku', then he makes ruku'. It's only the sujood, so he is not to make sujood. If he's able to make sujood and ruku' but not standing, for example, then he sits, but ruku' and sujood has to be perfected. So وَيُفْعَلُ الْبَعْضُ. So to do some of the ma'mur, part of what you have been commanded as an obligation, إِنْ شَقَّ فِعْلُ سَائِرِ الْمَأْمُورِ, if it's difficult for a person to do the rest of what he's been commanded to do. Someone's zakatul fitr is sa', a specific measure, but he has only half of it. That's all what he can afford. He can give that and that's sufficient for him. And this is how things are. But this is only in the things that can be given in portions or has parts to it. So the fasting, for example, you can't. You cannot just fast. Someone, he has a condition, he can only fast till Asr. After that he has to take a medicine, otherwise he's going to be sick and so on. Can he do that? No, he's not. He is not to do that. He can break his fast from the very beginning if the trustworthy Muslim doctor told him that he have to do that. So it's only in the things that has parts to it. And that's the famous quote or the famous principle, ما لا يدرك كله لا يترك كله. Whatever you not attain, and this is a way of life. If something that you're not able to attain all of it, then don't leave it all of it. Don't leave all of it. You're not able to do, you're not able to perfect it. Don't leave it all. Do the best you can. فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُمْ. Do the best you can and fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the best of your ability. So this is وَيُفْعَلُ الْبَعْضُ مِنَ الْمَأْمُورِ إِنْ شَقَّ. This is the condition. If it's difficult. إِنْ شَقَّ from المشقة, the difficulty. إِنْ شَقَّ فِعْلُ سَائِرِ الْمَأْمُورِ. If it's difficult to do the rest. سائر is the rest of al-ma'mur. Then وَكُلُّ مَا نَشَى عَنِ الْمَأْذُونِ فَذَاكَ أَمْرٌ لَيْسَ بِالْمَضْمُونِ. Another ruling that may be related to those who are in medicine, for example. وَكُلُّ مَا نَشَى عَنِ الْمَأْذُونِ. Every kull, umum, everything that nasha, like it's supposed to be nasha, but it's okay to say nasha. So everything that, what's the word in English? Emanate. So everything which emanates, initiated, comes from عن المأذون, from an allowance. Allowance meaning permission. Someone gave permission to do something. Someone gave you the permission to do something that is related to him. فَذَاكَ أَمْرٌ لَيْسَ بِالْمَضْمُونِ. Then such a matter for it, there is no liability. Meaning, you gave the permission to the doctor to make surgery, right? And you agreed to what's going to happen. Then the surgery happened and the matter got worse. Is the doctor liable or not? The answer is no. You gave him permission. Unless he was negligent. Or unless he's not a doctor. Or he's not qualified for it. He lied and he's not the one that's supposed to do this. So this is that apply in this case. وَكُلُّ مَا نَشَى عَنِ الْمَأْذُونِ. You gave permission for someone working for you to do something in the house. Right? And he broke something. He's professional. And that's why the ulama put condition. This is his thing. He knows how to do these things very well, not someone that doesn't know. So he knows exactly this is his job, this is his profession, and he's not negligent. He did not was being careless or so. So in that case, there's no daman, there's no liability on him. So it's case by case, of course, situation. But this is to show that the daman or the liability, if a person gave permission, and there's no negligence and there's no evil actions and things of that nature. وَكُلُّ مَا نَشَى, and al-insha is something initiated from the beginning. عَنِ الْمَأْذُونِ, someone is given the permission. Al-idhn is the permission. فَذَاكَ أَمْرٌ, this is a matter. لَيْسَ بِالْمَضْمُونِ, الضَّمَان is a huge subject in transactions, which is the liability. Who's liable? It's a very detailed subject in fiqh. Then وَكُلُّ حُكْمٍ دَائِرٌ مَعَ عِلَّتِهِ وَهِيَ الَّتِي قَدْ أَوْجَبَتْ لِشِرْعَتِهِ. Now the issue of al-ill. Every hukm, every ruling, da'ir is a circle, revolves, goes around, ma'a illatihi, around its cause, around the cause of it or the reason for it. Why did it happen? Al-hukm yaduru ma'a al-illa, the hukm goes with the illa. If there's a illa, and this is also a detailed subject, not everything has a illa that we know, and some illa or some reason, it's already established in the shara' that this is the illa of it. And some things it's by the ijtihad of the ulama. So if there's a illa, if there's a cause for a ruling, then if this cause is not there, there's no ruling. وَهِيَ الَّتِي قَدْ أَوْجَبَتْ لِشَرْعَتِهِ, and this is what made the ruling obligatory, or أوجبت, made it the reason for its لِشَرْعَتِهِ, for its legislation. So, and it has to be, of course, this is something that is very clear, not left to individuals by their own selves like this. أحكام السفر, the rulings of traveling, that you shorten the salah and you don't have to fast and so on. The illah of it is what? The cause of it is traveling. So if the traveling is there, then the ahkam of the safar, the ruling of a safar applies for you. If the safar stops, person is not traveling anymore, then the illah is gone, that means the hukm is gone. This is how it goes with the illah. So if he returns back home, no more safar. No more ahkam al-safar, no more shortening of the salah. If what constitutes the returning home, the urf. So if you're driving back and you were shortening the salah because you traveled, when is the spot once you enter? That means you're in your locality. That means no more of ahkam al-safar. So if you pray the salah full and things like this. So something in the clothing is impure. So you're not able to pray in it because it's impure. It becomes pure, then you pray. So it goes according to the illah. Some of the ilal, but this is just to mention this example because it's a detailed subject so that we don't become at ease. What's the illah of this? What's the illah of that? Some of it has a clear evidences. Like the Prophet ﷺ said, إذا كنتم ثلاثة فلا يتناجى اثنان دون الثالث. If you are three, two should not have a secret counsel or secret talk, and not the third. What's the illah? The Prophet ﷺ mentioned it. Why? فَإِنَّ ذَلِكَ يُحْزِنُهُ, because that makes him sad. That one that is secluded becomes sad. What if he's not sad? It's still you have to stay away from it, because the illah mansusun alayha. He did not say maybe this. Some people say if there are three, I'm sorry brother, we're going to speak in our language, so they leave him like that alone. And they say, well, I'm okay, I'm fine with it. It doesn't make me sad. No, you cannot do that. Because the Prophet ﷺ stated that this is فَإِنَّ ذَلِكَ يُحْزِنُ. So this is the illah is stated. Unless in some dire need. Sometimes the illah is to be with istinbat. The ulama would extract it. Sometimes it's close and sometimes it's far. Like the food when it's put on the table and it's time for the salah, salatul jama'ah. You start with the food. And as the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, لا صلاة بحضرة الطعام, or بمدافعة الأخبثين, struggling with oneself to go to the bathroom. So what's the illah? What's the purpose? The Prophet ﷺ did not say the cause for it or the reason for it. But this is clear, as the ulama they say, because انشغال القلب. Because the heart will be busy in the salah, desiring the food. He goes for the salah when he desires the food, so he won't focus on the salah. So, but is it mentioned specifically in the hadith, the illah or the reason? No. Some of the ilal that caused many different, that's why we see some things that has major differences of opinions, because the illah is not mentioned, and it's not clear. Like the issue of الذهب بالذهب والفضة بالفضة in the subject of الربا. The gold, it's not permissible to sell the gold with the gold or the silver with the silver. What's the illah? Is it currency, or it's the naqdain, or only the dhahab and the fidda? So this is in the rulings of the riba al-fadl and the riba al-nasiya is well known that it's haram. So things like this, what's the illah behind it? Is it that it's the currency, or the wazn, something that is weighed or something that is measured by volume? So وَكُلُّ حُكْمٍ دَائِرٌ مَعَ عِلَّتِ. So الحكم دائر مع العلة. If then there's no illah, then there's no حكم. وهي التي قد أوجبت لشرعته. This is what which is the very reason for its legislation, and sometimes the fatawa of the ulama, because of the illah, because of the reason why this is mentioned. So if the reason is not there, then the rule does not apply. وكل شرط لازم للعاقد في البيع والنكاح والمقاصد. Now the subject of a shurut. It's also a very big subject in the transactions. The conditions, but this is للعاقد. وكل شرط, every condition, لازم. لازم, that means is binding. للعاقد, upon the contractor. That means the aqd has two ends to it. طرفي العقد, buyer and seller, for example. So whatever conditions in the aqd, in the contracts, is لازم, is binding. وكل شرط لازم للعاقد في البيع والنكاح والمقاصد, in buying and selling, in marriage, in al-maqasid, intended objectives, anything that people would have contracts between two parties or two individuals, then whatever conditions is there is binding. إلا, the next line, إلا شروطا, except conditions, حللت محرمة, except conditions that made haram halal. أو عكسه, or the opposite, made halal haram or haram halal. أو عكسه, or the opposite. فباطلات فاعلمه. فباطلات, all of that is batil. Made halal haram, made haram halal. Then this is batil, this is falsehood, is invalid. فاعلمه, then you should know. And it's haram for you to accept such a condition because it has haram in it. So if it's in the contract that if you don't fulfill your job, you're going to have to drink a glass of wine. That's haram, right? Or riba conditions in the contracts. If you don't pay on time, there's late fees. This is shart muharram. This is the condition is haram. Whether you're going to pay or not, that's something else. But you agreed to something that is haram. So وَكُلُّ شَرْطٍ, other than that, if the shart is not haram, it's lazim, binding. وَكُلُّ شَرْطٍ, I want this house to be like this, you paint it like this, you use this type of nails, whatever, right? So all the conditions are لازم للعاقد in buying and selling. والنكاح, if there's the conditions of a nikah, even though people should not be at ease with it. If a woman, for example, stipulated a condition that that her husband is not to take her to an island that is specific name of an island far away. She doesn't want to go there, and he agrees. That means he has to fulfill the condition. But sometimes nowadays it becomes a trend. Every time marriage people ask, the woman wants to have a condition that her husband doesn't get married, someone else, right? And it becomes, in principle, the ulama they mention this. But once it becomes like everybody wants to do this is something that definitely a person should not agree to something like this. And a woman should not even make herself do something like this. Even though it's halal in principle, because she's not forbidding the haram. She's not saying that this is haram, but it's still something that should be avoided. والمقاصد, and any intended objectives, إلا شروطا, again, حللت محرمة أو عكسه فباطلات فاعلم. The shurut, some of the shurut is already, what's the word for it, is inherited in the contract. Like, for example, the buying and selling, the matter has to be clear. You don't have to stipulate that. It doesn't have to be mentioned as a condition. If it's gharar, if it's jahala, if it's not known what you're buying, then it's not valid to start with. Buying a truck loaded of stuff, you don't know what's inside. It's a closed truck. This is whatever inside is worth $100, and you have no idea what's inside, or you know, but exactly you don't know exactly. This is not valid. It's not permissible. Why? Even though it's without any condition, because that's part of the bay' itself within the rules of the Sharia that forbade something like this, and the matters of riba and the like of that. Then the next one is تستعمل القرعة عند المبهم من الحقوق أو لدى التزاحم. This is the qur'ah. Qur'ah is lots are drawn. Al-qur'ah, when someone, when is it valid to draw lot, flip a coin, whatever. تستعمل القرعة, lots are to be used عند المبهم, when something is mubham. Al-mubham is the ambiguous, something it's not clear. من الحقوق, from the rights, أو لدى التزاحم, from the rights, or when there is tazahum, there is one or the other which is overcrowding. That means one or the other has to be chosen and not both of them. So عند المبهم, people do not know exactly who was supposed to do what, right? It's not clear to them, so they can flip a coin who would do it. So this is something that is not clear. من الحقوق, of rights, who give the adhan, for example. But this is also لدى التزاحم. التزاحم, if it's a spot, people are both running to save a spot, and they're both in the same speed, and they got there, and it's only for one and not the other. Then they can draw lots. So the Prophet ﷺ, whenever he would travel, he would make the qur'ah for which of his wife would travel with him, right? So things like this. So this is part of, there is huquq, there is rights to be observed as a result of making qur'ah. Sometimes you're going somewhere and you can only take one child of your children, and you can make a plan for them, but this is something that is not to be scheduled, so it's only one. So you can draw lots, for example, or who would come and things of that nature. So this is permissible as long as it's not something haram. وإن تساوى العملان اجتمعا وفعل إحداهما فاستمعا. Now this subject of تداخل الأعمال, some actions can be overlapping. تساوى, وإن تساوى العملان اجتمعا, more than one amal at the same time, then they're all together. You can do them all together if it's overlapping. وفعل إحداهما فاستمعا, and one is done. So if two actions of similar legislations coincide at the same time, either one can be performed, so listen attentively. One can be done and the other one will be included, for example, if it overlaps. Like, for example, the Hajj and Umrah, Hajj al-Tamattu', for example, or Hajj al-Qiran. The actions of Hajj and Umrah, they go together. So this is tadakhul a'mal. Making ghusl from janaba, and at the same time it's Friday morning. So it's the same ghusl. You don't have to make two ghusl. One ghusl is sufficient for both. So if you do for one, the other one is included. If you make the ghusl for janaba, then the ghusl of al-Jumu'ah is included. And this is better because this is fard. But if a person does it for the Jumu'ah, that also lifts the janaba if there is janaba. Something like the 2 rak'ah that a person enters the masjid and he prays. Sunnatul Dhuhr or Tahiyatul Masjid, or he prays Sunnatul Dhuhr. That's what he should pray. And Tahiyatul Masjid will be included. He does not have to have 2 rak'ah Tahiyatul Masjid and then 4 rak'ah or Sunnatul Dhuhr. No, Sunnatul Dhuhr is sufficient because this is all together. The same thing with Rak'atay al-Wudu. Some other things you cannot have them if they're overlapped because they're separate. For example, someone slaughtering for the Udhiyah, for the Eid, can he include the Aqiqah in the same slaughtering? The Aqiqah of his son or daughter? No. These are two separate actions. Right? So this one and this one. Making wudu before you go to sleep, making wudu for 2 rak'ah before you go to sleep. You don't have to make one wudu for that, one wudu for that. Tadakhul a'mal. So this is وإن تساوى العملان, they have to be equal, and there are conditions with the ulama they mention. اجتمع وفعل إحداهما, one of them is done, فاستمع, then listen to this will be sufficient. وكل مشغول فلا يشغل مثاله المرهون والمسبل, or فلا يشغل for the wazn of the line. وكل مشغول فلا يشغل مثاله المرهون والمسبل. This is the very important قاعدة also that works in our daily life also. المشغول لا يشغل. المشغول, someone is occupied, engaged in something, you don't engage him into something else. So this is وكل مشغول فلا يشغل أو فلا يشغل. Someone is in salah, can he be engaged in something else? Can he eat and drink, for example? No, because he's engaged in this one action. Of course, in the ibadat it's very obvious, but also in transactions. And he said the example here, مثاله المرهون والمسبل. Al-marhun, something that is being set aside as a collateral. A person went to the pawn shop or whatever, and he gave something as rahn as a collateral till he brings back his loan that he's supposed to pay. So something marhun, can that person that received this rahn, can he sell it? No, because it's mashghul. It's occupied now. It's called rahn. So you don't have the ease to, even the owner cannot just go sell it, because he put it as a collateral for his loan. So this is mashghul, this is occupied. And the same thing, al-musabbalu, it's one of the words of al-waqf. Someone made a waqf. Can someone comes and sell it? Of course not, because the building is mashghul, is occupied, is engaged in the subject of al-waqf. So al-mashghul la yushghal. And the same thing, we use this, doesn't have to be in a mandatory thing. You know, someone wants to, I'm just making up this, so, not a child, a student studying, he wants to get married, right? So, mashallah, he's righteous, he's good, and his family will spend on him till he graduates, and mashallah, he finds a job. So the family of the woman, and they have the right to do that, they refuse, they have the right? But they say because he's not working. If he's not working and empty, not doing anything, yes, this is correct. But he's mashghul. He's engaged in something. He's not lazy. He's working hard and studying, mashallah, and things like this. So, al-mashghul la yushghal. If you say, well, then take him out of the school to work so that he can get married. But we have the means to spend on him, right? So it's not a bad thing. Right? It's a concept that also we can use in many different things in our life. And that's why the one that doesn't have anything whatsoever, this is where the blame is to be upon him. But someone is busy with something and it's a valid thing and it's a benefiting thing, then al-mashghul la yushghal. But mainly here in matters of fiqh, of course, if someone is engaged in buying something and negotiating with the owner of the car, he wants to purchase it. So someone else comes in and he says, I'll give you more money and give it to me. It's haram. لا يبع بعضكم على بعض. None of you should sell on the transaction of his brother. You wait till that finish, and if he gets it, mashallah. Why? Because there's something engaged here. This is fi sawm. There's back and forth. Or if he purchased it and they're still standing there, and he says, by the way, if you give it to me, if you sell it to me, I'll give you more. It's already engaged here, so it's not, even though there's no signing or anything, legally wise, he can do that, but it's haram. It's not permissible. So this is from this rule of al-mashghul la yushghal. So al-rahn wal-waqf and the like of that. وَمَنْ يُؤَدِّ عَنْ أَخِيهِ وَاجِبًا لَهُ الرُّجُوعُ إِنْ نَوَى يُطَالِبًا. وَمَنْ يُؤَدِّ, whoever, al-ada is to do something, like the salah ada versus qada, but وَمَنْ يُؤَدِّ عَنْ أَخِيهِ, whoever do something on behalf, عن أخيه, on behalf of his brother. Wajiban, something that is obligatory, something that has to be done. He did it on behalf of his brother. Lahu ruju'u, that person that did that favor, he has the right to ar-ruju'. Ar-ruju' is the return. And the word ar-ruju' in the transaction in the books of fiqh refers to, you go back to him, that means you have rights from him. Ar-ruju' ala fulan. Where your money is with who, is for that person. Lahu ruju'u in nawa yutalibah. He has the right to go back to him and to say, I want this money that I spent on you, and it was something that I had to do, as long as he intended to ask for it. What does that mean? Someone left his family and they don't have money. So they called his brother or whatever, we need something, we need money now, and the husband is far away, no means of communication. So he comes and he saves the situation and he gives them money. He has the intention. He doesn't have to say, my intention, I'm giving you this money, but by the way, when he come back, like he doesn't have to say that. But his intention, he's giving it, and not as a gift, but when this brother come back, he's going to give me back. So this applies. So when this brother come back, and he says, by the way, I paid this for you, that person should not say, well, I didn't tell you to pay. Who told you to pay on my behalf? It was something that has to be done. He did not do some transaction that is not needed. It was needed. So this is why it's wajiban, something that is obligatory on him. And so this is nafaqa wajiba, and with the intention. If he had the intention not that he's not going to get it back, then he should not ask for it. And this is something only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows. Or if he said it clearly, by the way, this is just a gift from me, then he changed his mind, is not permissible. The Prophet ﷺ, he said he's like the dog when he vomits and he eats his vomit. So, and that's why if someone gives a gift, and he doesn't have to say that this is a gift, it's well known by the urf, right? That this is a gift by what's known, and then he fights with that person and says, I want my gift back, or it's not a gift. This is haram, of course, and it's not permissible to be returned. So, وَمَنْ يُؤَدِّ عَنْ أَخِيهِ وَاجِبًا. When it's something wajib, and there is details with zakatul mal. If it's something that requires a niyyah from the person, no one is allowed to give zakah on his behalf. You cannot give zakah on someone's behalf. But some of the ulama, they said, unless he knows that he's not present now, but he knows this is an opportunity to give zakah, so if he gives it and the other person will give intention, but something should be avoided, because zakah has to have the intention that the person is giving money for zakah, cannot be cancelled out or so. So unless the person he has to have his own intentions. وَمَنْ يُؤَدِّ عَنْ أَخِيهِ وَاجِبًا لَهُ الرُّجُوعُ إِنْ نَوَى يُطَالِبًا. The last one here, inshallah, says, وَالْوَازِعُ الطَّبْعِيِّ عَنِ الْعِصْيَانِ كَالْوَازِعِ الشَّرْعِيِّ بِلَا نُكْرَانِ. Al-wazi' is one's conscious, natural deterrent. Al-wazi' al-tab'i. Al-tab'i is the natural one. Al-tab' is what a human being is created with. And sometimes it's not that he's created with, it's already established in the human beings for whatever reason. Wazi' tab'i. And al-wazi' is what pushes the people to do things or to avoid things. So what does that mean? عن العصيان, to be away from sin. كالوازع الشرعي بلا نكران. Take the same ruling as الوازع الشرعي, the religious wazi', the religious deterrent, or something that encourages a person to do, بلا نكران, without any denial or condemning this. Meaning, someone, his wazi' الطبعي, his nature, he cannot, for example, eat the hyena. Did anybody know that al-dab' it's permissible to eat as far as permissibility is concerned? Or he cannot eat chicken. This is not something that, as the Prophet ﷺ, he did not see it when he did not eat it when he was a child. So is he making halal haram? No. But he's not forbidding something halal on him. This is al-wazi' al-tab'i. So the religion, the Sharia recognize this. There is nothing wrong with the person. If this is something that is instinct in him, he cannot do it. But he says, عن العصيان, to al-asyan, or the disobedience or sin. Some things, for example, say a place was made for bathrooms, for example. So they kind of fixed it, and it's not a bathroom anymore, and they want to make salah in it. But a person doesn't feel right. Unless he's superstitious or something like this, just something that a person is not able to. There's wazi' tab'i, that the evidence doesn't have to be there. For example, there are general evidences that people should not eat insects and things like this. So it doesn't have to be with everything that is to be mentioned. It's already wazi' tab'i. So al-wazi' tab'i an al-'asyani, something also that deter the person from the sin. Someone does not drink wine because it's disgusting, something like this. right? So it's good, at least he's not drinking it. كالوازع الشرعي, also it has the same as the religious وازع, بلا نكراني, the matter is made easy for him, but it's as a matter of increasing the rewards by focusing that, yeah, you're not drinking it because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forbade it, right? So, but this is something to be recognized. Someone is not eating pork because it's something that he cannot do it even if it's halal. Sometimes people, they would say, if it's halal, I would drink it, right? A person should avoid that. But yes, it's true. Some people, their wazi' is the shar'i only, is the religious wazi' or the religious deterrent. Some people is both. Some people is the tab'i. So that is not to be dealt with difficulty. The matter is a matter of ease. Then the last two lines, والحمد لله على التمام في البدء والختام والدوام ثم الصلاة مع سلام شائع على النبي وصحبه والتابعي. So ending it with alhamd, walhamdulillah, perfect praise to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that's this alif lam is for the umum, al-istighraq, all the perfect praises to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ala tamam, upon completing this manzuma or this poem, fil bad'i wal khitami wal dawami. In the al-bad' is in the beginning, al-khitam is the seal or the ending of things, wal dawam throughout. That means alhamd to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala perfectly at all times, in the beginning and at the end, and that's why alhamd is mashru' in the beginning of the actions, at the end of the actions, at all times. ثم الصلاة مع سلام شائع, thereafter the salah with salam شائع. الشائع is widespread in abundance. على النبي وصحبه والتابعي, upon the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and صحبه and the companions, والتابع and those who follow the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين, and those who followed them with goodness till the day of judgment. So this is the end of the manzuma, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us benefit from what we heard. And again, this is not a call for us to start to extract rulings, because al-qawa'id is different than the usul. Qawa'id is already, the masail is there, but it's just compiling it under certain principles so that it becomes easy for the person to relate things. And the other thing also is, there are so many that is related to so many different chapters in fiqh, and even sometimes in matters of aqidah and things like this, but this is mainly in the fiqh. So it gives us the encouragement that to study this deen, because when a person, the more he studies and with the fear of Allah and things like this, but also you witness how this religion is miraculous. This is ayat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in all of these rulings that does not exist on the face of earth, the like of it. And the one part of the misery that we are in today is when the people of Islam, they neglect such great matters of work, of the ilm, of the tafsir of the Quran, the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, and the different ulum that humanity doesn't have the like of it whatsoever, and many of it is even taken from even the usul of the ahkam of the Muslimin. And this is well known, like what happened in Europe and so on, when they took from many of the usul of the Muslimin. They did not have it. So to seek the knowledge and to seek it seriously, and to go back to this, always go back to these principles, and to try to relate some of the furu' and some of the masail to it. And this is only some and not every qaida in the matters of fiqh. So we'll stop here, inshallah. You know it made you stay for a long time. So if you have any questions, or if you feel free to do whatever, inshallah.